My name is Lehady Sani-Agatha. Everybody calls me Lee. I am the COO and the CTO of TDA.
And I'm Gary Mendez, the host of the Top Digital Podcast. So here we're here to talk today about a new service that's available that we're calling end-to-end project management.
Yes,
Can you sum it up in a nutshell for me?
it's basically like the name, what it says, right? End-to-end project management. It's that specific feature is a tool where user majority mainly focus on clients to help them manage a B2B project, digital projects on the platform, where they can from the beginning, after doing the procurement process, they can have generated a contract, so they can negotiate with the agency digital service provider that they are currently choosing to work with. They can work on a contract, digitally sign the contract on the platform, see all the requirements, break down the contract with the scope of work, the milestones that needs to be broken apart from the project, the payment process, and kind of like the more specific how you say data points or legal region that the contract will be like upheld, kind of, right? All within the contracts, and once that generates, the contract is signed, it generates a slew of information on the project management overall page, where they can see the milestones, they can see the scope of work, the overall health of the project, in which parts have been paid, and in the grand scheme of things, they have a KPI and process where they can have reporting for not just one specific project, but then let's say they're working on multiple projects with different type of agencies. They can have a collective, how you say, collective feedback and simplified information where they can see the key KPIs for certain projects. Let's say they worked on multiple a project for marketing, websites, or PR advertisement.
Yeah,
They'll
can you
see.
walk me through like one specific one?
Yeah. They'll basically with the KPI on reporting, they'll see how much they've been spending on specific projects and how valuable has it been enough for them, right? Where they can go back in another year, look back on things that they worked on, and see what was beneficial, what was spent on, where they can focus the next following year or the next quarter. This is valuable like information that we try to portray. Let's give an example. You have a client and an agency. They decide they want to work together, right? So they break down. Majority, sometimes like the service provider, they breaks down the scope of work. So let's say the client wants a website. The client says that their budget is 15K, right? So the scope of work the agency provides, they say, based on your needs, we'll break it down to three milestones with the scope of work, right? Well, one milestone will be the discovery period to see what the client needs and how the company is about and how they will, how I say, how they approach the project. The second milestone will be the development phase where they start coding, and then the third milestone will be the how you say testing phase and showcasing it to the client, giving feedback and just finalizing the whole entire project, right? And each of those milestones, those three milestones, there'll be a percentage which the client will, how you say, agree upon of how much they will pay for each milestone. Say they'll give 50% for the first milestone of the overall 15,000 that they for the overall budget, right? They'll allocate 50% for the first milestone, then they'll allocate 25% for the second one, and then they'll leave the rest of 25% for the third milestone.
So the milestones from the client point of view line up with how your project is progressing, but also in how you are paying for your project.
Yes, and also the client will have more control, and then also the agency will have more transparency. So the client would not, let's say, depending on what they agree upon, would not allocate those funds until those milestones have been met. So they'll have a chance to review that milestone, see the task that's within those milestones, because as soon as the task and the milestones completed, the service provider will send it to the client to get it reviewed. Once the client reviews all of them and thinks it's appropriate enough for their needs, they will confirm the milestone is complete, and then the money can be allocated to the service provider. There will be situations where if there is an incident or there's a situation where they think a task wasn't done appropriately or they need more feedback, they have the, how you say, the chance as well to, or the ability to flag a task or a milestone as well. So once that's flagged, that'll immediately start communication between both parties so they can negotiate and fix the issue that's been brought up.
So on the client side, then in that scenario, it sounds like the milestone is pretty important, right?
Yes.
If you're setting a milestone and you're attaching, we have made X amount of progress. Let's say we're halfway through
Hmm.
the project, and therefore you get the appropriate compensation, right? So you get paid for the first half of the project at that point.
Yes.
Uh, it is important then that the milestone be not too technical, maybe, but more uh, something that the client can easily look at and approve or disprove and say, no, we have not gotten there, or yes, we have. Correct?
Definitely.
If it's a little more complex
Yes.
than the client necessarily can read, then it makes it hard for them to sort of approve a milestone, right?
Yes, well, I think what's great about it is it can be as complex or as simple as both parties would like it to be,
Okay.
right? Where they can make it, they can touch on, like, let's say higher level touch points regarding the milestone and the task that needs to be worked on for the project. And as long as the client agrees upon it and gets enough information and know how many hours will be worked on and the duration, they can keep going. They can keep the project going, right? But if the client or the agency wants to be even more detailed, more specific, that's why we have the milestone, we have task, and also we have subtask where they can break every single thing detailed down and know what needs to be worked on and what's the progression of the project. That's why we have a overall project health, right? Where there's an overview of how much changes has happened. Let's say you agreed on the contract, you agreed the amount of scope of work and the milestone that needs to be done, but you know you have some examples where you don't know everything until you dive deep into the project,
Right,
right?
right.
So halfway through, you see new issues that is brought up on, right? So then they can actually have an annex and make an adjustment of the contract and add if milestones or anything that needs milestones or the budget of the project that needs to be reflected on the current project that they're working on. They can adjust those things, and then they can reflect on the overall project health where you initially agreed on this amount of scope of work. Now you've added or you decreased it, right? And it'll show you, okay, from the initial state of the project, you have significantly added more work that was initially expected, right? Or you have significantly, from the client's point of view, you have significantly spent more than you initially thought you would, or you saved up, right? So you'll see these things as well on our end-to-end project management tool.
And so yeah, that's interesting. So the managing, you're managing the project, but the other thing that the tool offers is the chance to manage the health of the project,
Yes.
to manage the relationship.
Yes, exactly. I think that's
Yeah.
one of the key things as well. We wanted to provide more transparency from for both parties, right? Because there is incidents where something was promised from either side, and then once the project is going on or some issue comes about, it's a tit for tat. Where okay, I
Right.
said this, I agreed on this, but no, we have you have the whole transcript. It's basically a transcript of everything that was agreed upon. You have the communication that was talked on the platform, so you can always have reference to what was initially agreed on, right?
We need to keep this out of the hands of wives, and my wife would love to have a transcript of the things I said. We could go back and look at the health of our relationship.
Yeah, that's a good one. But also just from a client point of view, right? You usually have project managers who are leading the project, but then they have to report to their superiors, right? So this is a great tool where they can have a consolidated reporting for all the projects that they are currently spending on, and they can report it to their directors or CEOs or you know someone in charge of them of overseeing the whole entire project. Because then they can export with our CSV the overall health and overall spent, and how was the impact of the project that they were working on.
That was actually something that I was had on my list of questions for you, was about sort of the ideal type of user.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds to me like there may not be one.
No.
It sounds like it's a plural, types of users.
Yes, yes, it is.
Can you kind of run down who gets what out of the project management tool?
Uh, uh, the few ones that come out of my head right now, on my mind is I know like a project manager who's in charge of the project who wants to know the overall health of the project and what state it's in, and they can communicate with the outsourced company that they're currently working with. That's one. Um, Second, this will be a great tool for an enterprise level client where they're handling multiple subcontractors and have multiple different ways of communicating with them, right? Where there's one, instead of communicating them through Excel or email or messaging or phone call, they have one. They have one platform. They can see all the communication between all these different types of subcontractors, right? Parties that companies that they're working with. They can see the state the projects are in. They can have an overall view of how much they're spending their budget through all these different companies, what was agreed on, the contracts, and then have some type of consolidated reporting for with all the companies that they're working with. That's a great deal.
And that seems to me like it's super useful when you've got, say, two working parts. You've got an outsourced project here and an outsourced project here, but they need to work together.
Yes, yes, it is.
They need to be
Yes.
pieced together.
Yes, and then even third one that that is beneficial as well is let's say SME type client where let's say they've been around for a bit, but they still are learning the business, and they have an added value from us with our general knowledge of the B2B digital marketplace, where we can provide certain templates, let's say for the contract, whether necessary to provide ones working with a third party, right? Or what type of scope of work you should look out for, or payment process. They kind of are. They're held. We hold their hand a bit, right, where we can kind of guide them through the whole process of working with another party on a digital project.
So if you're sort of, in that scenario, right, you're a small business owner, or maybe a startup, or maybe a young business.
Yes.
Maybe you've passed the startup phase, but you're still on your trajectory, and you may not have outsourced anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good place to start as sort of a way to dip your toes into the outsourcing world.
Yeah, to leap a bit forward, right? You have a slight push because now you don't feel that you're just using your experience or your knowledge. You have a team of experts that have worked on multiple projects that identify the key things and the key processes you need when working on a digital project with another party.
Right, right. Yeah, especially when it comes to, there are a lot of people managing businesses where it's like, I know this. I know what I make, what I do, my widget, my tool, my product. I don't know SEO. I don't know PR.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, web development. I need to go to an agency, but when I go to them, I need to be able to communicate with them too and work my way through the project.
Definitely.
So can you talk a little bit about the communication side of the tool and how people can sort of use it as a translator, if you will?
Yeah, like I said prior, we have a messaging feature on the end-to-end project management tool where they can communicate with any party that they have a contract or they're doing a project with. They can also have a video call on the platform as well. So, like you said, a lot of people use Zoom or video calling with Google Meet, things like that, where you have embedded video calling on the platform as well. So, if need be, you can schedule a meeting on the platform and meet with with the other party that you're working with, and you can also message and share files and documentation as well on the platform.
So now I'll take a little step back. I know we've been digging a little bit deep into some of the nuts and bolts, but Um, I want to hear from your perspective because I think this is, I don't want to call it your baby, but this is, you were instrumental in the bringing this product to life.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about where the idea came from? What sort of sparked this movement to create this tool?
Yeah, definitely. When coming in and when I was a developer and working on the first product that we have, I remember we were more of a matching. We had a marketplace or pool of talent, which we still do, but we had a pool of talent of like seven or six 6 to 7 thousand agencies at that time,
Right. It was.
right?
Yep.
And we had clients posting their projects on our platform, and we have a slew of agencies pitching for it, right? So once they pitch for it, then the client shortlists the pitches, reviewing the agency's profile, and then they after they shortlist, they have a one-on-one with the agencies that they want to work with. So I seen once they chose pitches or agencies for the second round, we kind of disappeared on
Right.
the platform, right? Where we see that they've chosen somebody for second round and they chosen one. Eventually, they chosen one agency, but after that is we on the platform we weren't. There's no visibility of how the project went, how did it was completed, the overall how you say the overall sense of okay we connected them, they're happy, but then how the whole process go after that. So then it had me thinking, okay, especially at that time we were doing subscription, right? So it kind of made sense where we just had our we matched them and then we did our part, right? But then as soon as we switched from commission, then we it behooved us and the whole party that we help them match with the right person, right? So once you match with the right person, you want to make sure that the whole entire project went well.
Mhm.
So I looked at different tools on that 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 had some type of project management features, but also seen key things that we needed and were missing regarding projects that we helped work with other clients. So, and I seen one of the big things were like a lot of our agencies were asking for templates for contracts, right? So as soon as we matched them, there was some type of template or some contract that they can refer with from, and also help them negotiate with the client, and vice versa too, right? Also, we wanted to track the overall health of the project because we seen because we have a sister company as well, ForgeBit, so we know some issues that they go they they come upon working as an agency as well, where the pain point is the transparency between both parties, what was agreed upon, the communication. So we know once we when we create a project management tool, we need communication on it. We needed contracts to help both party come to terms and break down the scope of work and what needs to be worked on for the project. And also we needed a sense of measuring how is the project coming along. That's why we introduced the project health,
Right.
right? So, and then at the end, we know that clients have someone they need to report to, or they need to consolidate some type of report to see the effectiveness of the project. So we knew we needed to have some type of reporting feature on the project as well, on the project tool. So that's how it kind of came about. It was like a necessity where we switched the commission. We want to help meet both parties, and we try to add features that can complement that.
Okay. Um, so, can you tell me a little bit about what makes this offering unique? I mean, I know there are different kinds of project management tools out there. Um, how is the end-to-end project management tool from TDA unique?
The key thing that is unique is there's nothing out there that's more client focused. Where this is more for, of course, the agency as well can will and also helpful for using the tool, but this is more for the client to get a sense of how far along the project is going and getting the overall scope of the cost and effectiveness of all the projects they're working with different types of service providers.
And
Well, one thing too, sorry,
sure.
I was gonna say another thing which makes our USB is we still have the higher the higher features as well, where in any case we also can, you can also a client can also procure more service providers on the platform. So we have that's what we say we manage the whole life cycle of a project from hiring to managing the project as well.
Right. So, and you talked about the contract side of things,
Hmm.
like even you know, for lack of a better term, like the non-glamorous part,
Hmm.
you
Yes.
know, like the nitty-gritty of
Yes.
just, how do you get your contracts created, especially for that, SME, that small business owner maybe doesn't have an attorney sitting there, a chief counsel who they can call on to write up a contract
Definitely.
every day.
Yes.
So uh, on the you know on the agency side, there's also a pro there, right? To working with to both finding the client and then just transitioning straight into pre-built contract, ready to template, ready to manipulate and
Hmm.
use to get the project started, and then you're off to the races.
Hmm.
That said, there are tools out there and there are agencies out there that are already using other kinds of tools that may be disconnected, that aren't connected to how they found the client, that aren't connected to the maybe don't have the same project health tools or contract management or financing or anything. Um, is it what are the sort of easiest, simplest ways for them to transition over to using the TDA project management tool?
Well, the easiest thing is if they have a example of they have their contract, what was agreed with the party, then we have dedicated personnel where we can see those contracts, we can see all the scope of work, and they can also upload them to on the platform. So then it can help generate the necessary milestones and tasks for the project management tool.
So you could, theoretically BYOC, right? Bring your own client from somewhere else that you have already started to work with. Essentially, upload your contract and populate your project.
Yes, and then we have dedicated people who will help you with the onboarding process as well.
Nice, nice. Okay, so to smooth that transition into using it. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. Um, so then the other kind of the question I want to make sure we discuss is for either side, if you are coming from the client side or coming from the service provider agency side, what are the next steps to get started? Okay, I want to try it out. What should people do when they want to get in and use this project management tool?
They should go to our platform. Go to TDA. We have a specific page for our end-to-end project management uh, service, and they can right away set up a meeting with us, and we will get to knowing their project, their scope of work, what's their needs, and we'll get them straight away using the tool.
Excellent. So it's plug and play right now.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that's a wrap, man. I
Uh,
appreciate you taking the time.
oh, of course, always. Thank you.
Thanks.